The Coach Kevin McMillan Show is brought to you by BSN Sports. I'm Chris Brinkley with the Coach Kevin McMillan Show. We're talking UT Martin women's basketball. And Coach, let's look back at the big win, WNIT win at the Elam Center over Quinnipiac. You get this one in overtime, 102-97. And you and I have talked about the game since then, but it's one of those games that years from now you'll look back and you'll remember this game.
Well, I think you will from a lot of reasons. A lot of fouls were called, a lot of scoring. I think there were 7 or 8 kids in double figures off of both teams. Jasmine gets 44, Heather gets 31, which is remarkable that you had that from both those kids. But Quinnipiac was a really good basketball team, and we were fortunate to win. And it was a game that we'll talk about for a long time.
Quinnipiac had a 30-win season last year. Not many teams do that.
No, they were 30-2 in the regular season, beat St. John's, went to Maryland in the NCAA tournament. They were 11 or a 12 seed and lost at Maryland. So they lost one player from last year to this year, so they think they're going to be a really strong contender this year. They've changed conferences to what they think is a better conference for them. And I really do think, looking at the end of the year, looking back at our wins, that this will maybe be one of our highest RPI wins.
It was a big win for the Skyhawks, and I thought it was funny that they would do the wholesale substitution. You don't see this much in college basketball anymore, but bring in 5 new players, and you started substituting a little bit more, and I thought it was a genius move on your part, but it wasn't to save our players for the end.
No, we had come up with the decision to talk about our effort, and we gave the players 10 different things that in the game, if they didn't do the way they were supposed to do, that we were going to take them out. And all of that had to do with your effort, rebounding, boxing out, transition back on defense, knowing what you're supposed to do, not committing stupid fouls. So if you did any of those things, we would take you out. The only subjective way you could stay in a game was if one of the coaches just said your effort was good enough to overcome whatever you did, but that's not going to happen that often, and that's why you saw a lot of substitutions from us. And you saw Butler and Newsom came off the floor a lot earlier than they were supposed to, and it does look pretty smart now that we went into overtime, had so many people foul out that you rested your kids some, but that's not the reason why we did it.
And I think it's good that some of the players that played early had to come back in, because you fouled 5 players out of that game.
We had 6 players left on the roster eligible to play at the end of the game. And we finished with Charisma Tyson, Megan White, Tricia Lacey, Jasmine Newsom, and Katie Schubert on the floor. And that's 5 guards, and it's not a lot of experience, it's not a lot of size, but you know, sometimes you just have to, do what you've got to do, and that's what they did at the end.
You want, in a non-conference game, everything thrown at you to prepare for conference play. You got it in this game.
Yeah, I think all of the things that we need to get better were shown in this game. We didn't rebound as well as we should have, but we did in stretches. We didn't defend as well as we should have, but we did in stretches. I thought our effort was a lot better, but these are the kinds of games that you hope are going to help you in February and March.
The story of this game was Jasmine Newsom. She single-handedly put the team on her shoulders in overtime. Coach finished with 44 points, which is a UT Martin record. It takes a special player to score 44 points in a game, even in overtime.
Well, there was no question when Butler fouled out and we went into overtime. And we didn't necessarily have to go to Jasmine with some of the other players, but they were all fouled out. All of the other kids that we thought had some firepower that could have helped us had all fouled out. And so we just made a decision. We're going to put the ball in Jazz's hands every time down the floor and make them defend it. And I think she had 15 points in overtime, which is, it's absolutely amazing to think we played 5 minutes and she scored 15 points.
15 of your 19.
Of our 19 in that little short stretch. But she's that kind of player. What we're hoping that we can get her and Butler to do is elevate to that level when they're both on the floor and throughout the game. I think they're both such teammates, and they think so highly of each other. They don't want to overdo, and I think but they both want the other one to overdo. So it's kind of one of those little catch situations where we need them both to overdo, and they'll probably be just right for each other.
And you're in a situation where I don't think many coaches, well, probably no coach in the country can say, I've got 2 players out there that could potentially score over 40 points tonight.
Any given night, those 2 can.
And if it happened, I would not be surprised.
No, those 2 produced 75 points in that game. I would love to know the last time that in college basketball anywhere that two players have produced 75 points. And we have that luxury right now. Our challenge is to get those two players to play at that level and then get everyone else not to stand there and watch them.
Right.
To get them to raise up and play to their best ability. And then if you get beat, doesn't matter. You don't really care because you're playing the best that you can play.
Let's talk about what's phenomenal to me is that they were doing this in their freshman year, and the targets on their back got bigger and bigger from the scouting reports and the opponents. And what happens to them defensively in a game, and they still produce?
Well, I think last year they were punished defensively, and I think the rule change this year should benefit them. The rule change that we're now going to call fouls, which is kind of not really a rule change. It's just that we're going to call fouls. And both of them are kind of feeling their way through this. You know, what can I do now? What can I not do now? Butler's not being held like she used to be. So I think she's getting used to that freedom a little bit. But I think that the adjustment period is probably about another 2 or 3 weeks, and we've got to be ready to go with it. And those two right now are kind of wide-eyed if they're going to keep calling the fouls, that they should get to the free throw line a lot.
Let's cap up the conversation about the Quinnipiac game. And, Coach, you've explained this before in interviews, and it makes so much sense to the average fan. Explain RPI and why this game could help us a lot, and maybe even the win over Georgia State.
Well, RPI is I think it's called the Rating Performance Index, and it's just a mathematical formula that they try to use to measure every team in the country. So no matter what your schedule, we can compare you to every other team in the country, even if you didn't play the same opponents. And so what they do is they take your winning percentage, and then they take the teams that you played's winning percentage, and then you take the teams that they played's winning percentage, and you put them in a formula, and it spits out a number between 0 and 1. And then what they do is they take all 338 Division I schools, and they take those numbers and you put them in order, 1 through 338. I think last year Connecticut ended up being number 1, so they've got the highest RPI number, closest to 1. And then whoever had the lowest number was 338. We have been the last 3 years right around 100, which is very, very good for the OVC. We've led the OVC the last 3 years in RPI. Quinnipiac last year was RPI 38.
Wow.
And 38 is phenomenal for a mid-major. And to their victories last year, they had 3 or 4 victories over BCS schools, which pushed their RPI even higher. And they think this year is their better year. So if they go back to a 38 RPI, that's going to be a huge win for us because it's going to push our RPI up even higher because their winning percentage will be so good.
And what you can control your winning percentage. You can't control your opponent's winning percentage and their opponent's winning percentage.
No, the only thing you can control of the RPI is 25% of the equation. That's it. 75% of the equation is what your opponents do and what your opponents' opponents do. And so with only 25% that you can control, there's not a lot you can do about your RPI. You know, there is a way you try to schedule so that if you beat teams, you're going to beat teams with a real good winning percentage. So you want to schedule teams that you think you have a good chance of beating that are then going to turn around and have a good winning percentage, but you also want them to play a good schedule so that you can have it. That's why the BCS schools are so high, is because they all.
At this time, we would like to thank our basketball corporate donors. Dynamix.
Intuitive is that you could lose a game and better your RPI. You could win a game and your RPI drop.
If you won an RPI game, if you won a game against RPI number 1, you're going to go, I mean, if you lose it, you're going to go up more than you would if you beat 338.
Right.
It's just because of the way that the formula works. Kind of strange.
He explained it. You're like Mr. Wizard. I grew up watching Mr. Wizard. We'll come back and we'll talk about the games this week on the Coach Kevin McMillan
Carry
Show.
Insurance. Dynamix. Parker Hannafin. State Farm. Surgical Associates of Martin. Vans Institutional Pharmacy. Walmart. Thank you for your support of UT Martin basketball.
Back on the Coach Kevin McMillan Show. Coach, I like to take this beginning of this segment and just talk about anything, and this is not prepared. So are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. You played high school basketball where?
R.J. Reynolds in North Carolina my junior and senior year, and Arkadelphia, Arkansas my freshman and sophomore year.
Okay. Went on to play college ball at 2 colleges.
Wake Forest and then Rhodes.
And by the way, he's a record holder at Rhodes, right?
For what?
Well, I thought you were.
I think I was a top 10 scorer. I don't know if I still am. I was there in 3 years, and I was in one of the 1,000-point, 500 rebound club, which there was only 2 or 3 of those. And then I had a most consecutive free throws record or something, but that was a long time ago. It's probably been broken by now.
Well, how tall were you, and what was your weight back then?
I was 6'4" and weighed about 195.
Okay, solid. Played the 2, the 3?
I played the 2, the 3. I brought the ball up some at the point, and I would also play the 4 some if they needed me to.
One thing I love about coaches is honesty. If I were an opposing coach and you were playing, what would the scouting report be on you?
On me?
Yeah.
Make him put the ball on the floor because he can't dribble. Though I could bring it up full court, I just couldn't put it on the dribble and go score. You're going to have to probably double him in the post, but you're going to have to recover quickly because I also was a really good passer.
Yeah.
I like passing the ball. Attack him on defense because he's pretty lazy.
Oh, wow. Can you go left? Could you go left?
I could go left. I could go left or right. Okay. In the post, could go left or right. Either one was. I could use my left hand well because I'm kind of ambidextrous. But defensively, you could attack me because I was pretty.
Because you were lazy.
Yeah, I was pretty lazy.
Now that you look at lazy defenders on your team, is that a pet peeve? Maybe because you see that in yourself.
A lot of the things that I did as a player, as a coach, I don't let them get by with. I drill things now, pushing my players a lot more because I know now that they can give a lot more.
Right.
Because I know that I didn't give as much as I should have. And so I now coach differently because of the way that I played.
What coach changed your life, made you a better basketball player?
I had a lot of good coaches. I never played for somebody that really pushed me to the level that like a Coach Russell pushed his players at Gibson County or something, or like you see a Coach Krzyzewski do, or there's a lot of really good coaches out there. And it's not that I didn't have good ones. I just didn't have any that took me and said, no, you know what? You better go play defense. You don't play defense, I'm not going to play you. If you don't be more active on offense and quit hiding for a few possessions, I'm not going to play you. If they had held me to a higher standard, I think knowing what I know now, I would have kept trying to meet that standard. And I had nobody keep raising the bar on me. They were great team coaches and we had good teams, but it was never one of those that anybody pushed me to be, get out of my comfort zone.
I watched that show on the NBA where NBA players sit around and they have conversations like this, and one of the questions was, you would never have played for, and most of the NBA guys said, I never would have played for Bobby Knight. Could you have played for somebody like Bobby Knight?
At the time, I probably couldn't have played for Bobby Knight. Yeah. I hope now that I could, and I hope or I wish that I could have back then. I don't know that I was mentally tough enough to do it. I understand now, and I could do it now if I could go back and put my understanding in that young kid's body. I could probably do it.
Who would you like to have played for?
I would have liked to play for Bobby Knight.
Okay.
I don't know that I was able to. Anybody that's going to push you and hold you accountable and not lower their standards is somebody that I would have wanted to play for.
You do that, what Bobby Knight did, but in a much, much nicer way.
Well, I try to. I try to hold our kids accountable, and I try to, set the standards up really high and push them. I have changed a lot as a coach, but not that. Not that I'm going to lower standards, and not that I'm going to try to change accountability.
Coach, let's look at the games coming up this week. You have 2 games as we're taping this. Tape's an old word. As we're recording this, you got Arkansas State tonight, and then Missouri coming into the Elam Center on Saturday. Arkansas State, always a tough place to play.
Arkansas State's a great team. Picked to win the Sun Belt. They beat a very good Missouri State team, who then turned around and beat Little Rock, who we scrimmaged with about even. So they're capable of being and expected to in the Sun Belt be a champion and go to the NCAA tournament. They are a very dangerous team because they have size, athleticism, shooters, experience. They've got everything. The only thing is that we can present some challenges for them that we're not sure how they react to. And when we do that, how they respond will pretty much dictate the game. If they handle some things well, we're going to be in trouble because they have a few more weapons at this point in the season than we will. I do think that later on in the season, when our posts get older and more experienced, that we would be a more consistent team against them. But they have got the ability to do some really damaging things to us on both ends of the floor. The thing about us is you've got to sustain it. You can't just do it for 5 minutes. You've got to keep it. You've got to keep it coming the whole game. And traditionally, we've been able to find some things and attack and come up with schemes that have caused them some problems, and hopefully we'll do that again.
Then Saturday, Missouri comes to the Elam Center. This is going to be a good game, too, to see Missouri here at the Elam Center.
Well, it's an SEC team coming here, which we try to do, and Missouri's got a great team. Beat Tennessee last year. They beat us 8 or 9 last year at their place, so it'll be a big game for us. Hope that we've got a huge crowd here. Big football game that day, big UT Martin athletic day, and hope the people can handle a day full of it, because it's going to be Eastern Illinois here for the football team to play, and then we turn around and play Missouri that night. But Missouri's got a great team, an SEC team, and it's a challenge for us. And again, we want these teams to show us the things that we need to do to be our best in March. And Missouri, Arkansas State, Quinnipiac, Gonzaga, they're definitely going to do it.
You have said before, when you first came here, you wanted to get the big schools to come into the Elam Center, and we kind of shook our head and said, well, good luck with that. Coach, you've consistently done that.
We've had...
Has it been a challenge?
No, it's a little bit of a challenge. The real thing that we want to do is bring the Quinnipiacs of the world here. The 70 to 120 RPI teams. That's been a real big challenge. We can't get those to come. We're starting to have some problems getting the bigger schools to come here. We've called a bunch of schools that are within 3 or 4 hours of us that just flat out say no. But we've got Missouri coming this year. We've got Alabama coming next year. We've got Cincinnati coming next year. We had Purdue and Louisville last year. We had Vanderbilt the year before that. So for the next few years, we've got some teams that are coming here. And I just want our fans to get a chance to see teams that they might see on television, so that they can have a reference point when they're watching tournaments, and we just feel like bringing the best competition in here is going to make our kids better.
It is amazing when your season's over how many of the teams that I saw you play in the NCAA tournament.
There were a lot of them playing late last year.
Yeah.
Last year, I think in the Elite Eight on was Baylor, Stanford, Louisville, Notre Dame. So 4 of the Elite Eight were teams that were on our schedule. I mean, that didn't happen. I mean, that was kind of a crazy year, but we want to play the best teams that can give ourselves a chance to be the best that we can be, and I don't think we can do that unless we play those kind of teams.
Okay, that's going to do it. Missouri at the Elam Center on Saturday. Come out and watch that one. For Coach, I'm Chris Brinkley on the Coach Kevin McMillan Show.
The Coach Kevin McMillan Show is brought to you by BSN Sports.